pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for coming. Okay, you've had a chance to read the minutes. Do I have a motion?
Motion for the minutes.
And it's seconded. Any discussion on the minutes? Aye.
Aye.
Approved. Correspondence. Any correspondence that's not in the packet?
No, it's with other stuff on the agenda.
Okay. Now we're to the public comment portion of our meeting. Anybody from the public have a comment? Uh-oh. Larry's too late.
No fast. Right along then.
Okay, let's go to the council reports. Animal. Okay. No tickets written, several calls responded to.
We had a couple ladies calling this other lady that was walking her dogs down the golf course. They're not under control. So I went and told her that she had some complaints. She's, my dogs are always on a leash. You know, that's not necessarily the truth, but to catch her, you know, we don't have a leash law. We have voice control.
Sure.
So how do you go? Sit down. I sit down there with binoculars and watch her and see if she can yell at her dogs and have them come back. But I went and knocked on the door and told her nicely that they were having some complaints.
I think
So we'll see.
you should get one of these other dogs that run around here and turn it out down there and we'll see.
See what
Let them
happens.
poop in her
Yeah.
yard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean not poop in the yard, just to take care of the small stuff.
The small. Kill.
What's that?
Yeah, there's a Yorkie around your area that chased my car down about 4 blocks.
You bet. Let's see. Which one is it?
Mine got from-
Sewer. Sewer, of course.
Yep.
Well, maybe going by. My granddaughters were helping me read my reports. Okay, let's move on to parks.
All lawnmower, weed eaters, and tractors are being worked on.
Yep, we brought them in. 3 tractors, 3 lawnmowers, 3 weed eaters, and we changed oil, sharpened blades, and ready to go. The weather's starting to go. I think they're.
We'll start advertising for park labor soon. Roger and I've got to get together on that yet.
So we gotta get a new one again this year.
We always
rebid it every
we
year.
always re-advertise every year.
Okay.
Kid quit. Every year he quits, says, I don't think I'm coming back. And
Then he
I see
applies.
him, I say, so what do you think? He says, well, I'm thinking about it.
And then he comes and gets an application, fills it out, so.
Okay. Let's move on to crime in court.
For offenses, Superiors, 7 cleared, 6 arrest citations for a total of 13. Incidents, 4 cleared, 3 unfounded for a total of 17. Traffic stops, looks like 6 warnings, 1 unfounded, 3 arrest citations, a total of 10. 1 no DOT MVI number, the name of company on vehicle. 1 operating with expired registration. 1 driving a motor vehicle while privileged to do so is suspended or revoked. 1 owner permitting operation of vehicle without liability insurance for offense. And 3 omnibus hearings.
Thank you. Anything to add?
Oh, just from the sheriff's office, we hired 2 detention officers, which we needed. So we're getting back up to snuff there. We've hired another communications officer to replace the one who's leaving here
March
shortly.
25th, yep.
And by this Wednesday, we'll have a decision on the new deputy for the cops grant.
See, there is hiring going on somewhere.
Okay, let's move on. Pool, no activity.
Closed.
Neil?
We'll start advertising for that soon too.
Yes.
Reluctantly.
And not a lot of vandalism, has there been?
Nope. Somebody, they tried the one time early in the fall, they put a bench up and crawled in, went in from the pool side, tried to get out the other door, and that's when they beat the thing. But other than that, nobody messed with it.
Let's move on to sewer.
All checks and maintenance is being done, all testing has been completed, and the lagoon is good.
It's running good. Not any problems lately.
Substations.
The stations are doing good, yeah. I haven't had a plug up for a long time down that final one, and that's,
You should never have said
shouldn't
that.
say anything now.
That's because that creature's been keeping it clean up.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we were having a real problem with, what was it, muskrats or something?
Oh, down at the lagoon, yeah, there was the most we've ever had. I think he shot 7 of them.
But
They're
so
re-
far, it's been pretty good.
Yeah, I think he cleaned them out. We'll see what happens this fall, this spring and everything. But yeah, you gotta get rid of them quick because they're real burrowers. And if they burrow down in through that lining, then we're in trouble.
You give them to
And
some
our
fur,
laundry
furrier?
flushers
So.
now.
You sell them some fur?
If we could have got them, they got beautiful fur. We got one
Good, let them.
and looked at it. That is really pretty fur. Well, it's come out of lagoons, we weren't getting too,
Okay, let's move on. Water says all checks and maintenance is being done, all testing has been completed.
Yep, we got one little sinkhole showing up out on our well by the hospital. Just right inside our fence. It's starting to kip in there, so we're gonna have to start digging that. May try to do it on spring break, so that the school's out, because they tapped that grade school into the line that comes out of the well instead of out into a main. They ran it up into the feeder that goes in there. So to shut that thing off, I've got to shut off the whole thing and it'll kill the school. So we're thinking about trying to do it then. If I can't do it then, I'll just have to run temporary water to them.
Which address?
What's your address?
We gotta find out why it's sinking there.
Okay, let's move on to streets.
All plowing and sanding is being done. Street sweeper is being readied.
Weather turned nice, so we brought it in, and Rodney's been working on it, getting all the oils changed, and he had to work on the belt. Kept throwing the belt, and it looked like the alternator was leaning, so we lined it up. And I think we'll probably start Monday on that, start cleaning, since the weather stays like this. We're gonna start spring break so we can get into the high school when nobody's there, but it looks like we might be able to get a week earlier. Get started.
Okay, let's move on to the fire hall report. 3 emergency calls, 1 firefighter injured, 2 training meetings, fire hall update, annexation update, generator grant, annual awards dinner, recruiting and retention. Dan, John.
No, I don't think so. I can answer any questions, but things are going well. It'll be in my next report, but we did have our dinner Saturday night, had a really good crowd. Actually, that training room looked jam-packed, which is where we held it. And I also managed to give out 2 applications that night, so I think it went really well, and I have a pretty decent group that's kind of hanging out and getting more involved. One example of where that kind of takes us is that one of those 2 fire calls, well, they were both the same day, but one of those calls was about 7:30 in the morning, and we had almost a full crew at the building already that was there for a morning training class, so we had an engine all ready to go right away. The fire was actually in St. Regis's territory in the Cold Creek area, and we were there well ahead of them, so.
My point exactly.
Didn't that used to be in the firefighter district? I know that Clinton Augustus place used to be in this place.
Council concerns.
He is.
Yeah, I've got
Yeah,
one.
he still is.
Sure.
Primarily, Roger, this guy is directed to you, but that merry-go-round down at the playground, I don't know how many times I've seen that thing laying over there broken over the years.
Yeah.
And, I don't know how it's put together and why it's coming off of its hub or whatever.
Yes.
But what concerns me is, you've got a lot of little kids play on that thing. It's a moving piece of equipment, and if it breaks, comes off that hub, or whatever it's doing, what is the danger of that thing landing on some little kid and busting a leg, and we wind up in a lawsuit?
Well,
Is that a piece of equipment we just need to do away with, replace, or?
it's really old, and we've
It
had
looks
it,
old.
I've taken the top off of it 3 times. What happens is some big kids get down in there.
Yeah, they do.
And start jumping on it, and it busts it. And I've had Diane in Ireland, and he really welded it up. We're gonna pull it here spring and see what it is and see if it's working. Worth fixing, because you can only fix that iron so many times, and he's
Yeah.
welded, and he's put gussets in there, but when kids use it, it'll never break. but you get them, cause they've seen it, they witnessed it, and they're screaming at some kids, big kids.
Yeah, well, I've seen the teenagers out there playing.
6 of them just bouncing on it, and then end up breaking it. So it probably broke in one of the older spots. I doubt it broke where he gusted it did last time, because he really well did. But if it's fixable, that's about one of the only things those kids like there.
I'm just kind of the opinion that as many times as I've seen them have to go in and fix it, maybe we should just get rid of it, replace it before we end up in a lawsuit.
Replace it with a new one
Yeah.
that'll hold up to the
Well,
teenagers?
do they make one that would hold up to, 5 or 6
Well, I doubt
teenagers
it.
at a time?
You know, if they're gonna get up there and jump on it and do their silliness, then it's probably gonna break. But that's with any park equipment, you're always gonna be susceptible to type of vandalism.
Yeah.
So the best you can do is keep it working order and then see where you go. Cause you can't take it all out, cause they're gonna break stuff, they broke stuff almost every year that we have to fix. But I could look at prices, we'll see if we can fix it, and then if it's beyond repair, then we'll look at new ones. They don't have a lot to do down there.
Okay, so let's, maybe put that on the agenda for next month, and we will just kind of, take a look and see if that thing is, salvageable, or what we wanna do with it.
Yeah, I'll get it pulled off within the next week or so, and then have Dan go over and look at it. The reason I have Dan do it is we don't have a portable welder. If we had our old welder, we just do it ourselves, but we don't have a portable one. We have to be able to plug it into a 220, and there's no 220 around here. So that's why I hire him to do it. He's got one.
Anything else? Okay, EPA Superfund update.
If you were hoping for a quick meeting tonight, I might just shoot that down.
Well, I'm out of here. I already did my part. I want to hear you.
We could just unplug his
What?
computer.
Reach over there, you pull that little thing right out of the
I
side.
think it's one,
Wait a
we
minute.
just pop that.
My
in
wife's
and
watching
type
The
it.
Bachelor, and I hate that show, so this is good. Keep this going.
Might as well stay.
I think you need a spanking.
I couldn't agree, I couldn't watch that show for my life. I think it's stupid.
I talked to the commissioners last Friday. No, let's start a little bit before that. Duke Wynn was here with his contractor, URS, and trying to finish several things off and put us into a position so that we could expect that the final mitigation will take place. During that process, and with what's going on in the federal legislature right now, it's pretty obvious that if the EPA lives for the rest of the year with a continuing resolution and not a budget, they have just about said that there's gonna be no new start with a continuing resolution. So, you're gonna have to go get somebody somewhere somehow and say, EPA, you started something in Superior. I'm a little less concerned about the Flat River drainage, but getting the OU1 done, which includes the town and the airport. Let's try to get that done as quick as we can. So in that sense of it, I've drafted a letter to Tester Tabacus on behalf of the commissioners, and I'm using that as a springboard for the town letter that I'm suggesting to you.
Pass it back and show.
And I tried to work on your town letter today with at least 6 interruptions and 10 phone calls, so it may be improved a little bit. But what I would propose to do is take the commissioner letter to Bacchus Tester and get those ready for the commissioners next Friday. And coupled with that is to take the town letter, put them in basically as a packet that would go to Bacchus and Tester, and just see if they can go rattle a cage or two over at the EPA and say, come on, let's get on with this, let's get it done. What's almost ludicrous to this is having done all the pre-planning, have the rod out there, have the mechanism, have basically all those elements in place to finish this off and just sit there and say, basically, we're just waiting for funding, so. That's at least would be my proposal to you. I had a individual say, you know, practically speaking, you know, you're not gonna be any loss of taking this approach. It may be one thing that can help, because the Montana people are totally tied up on this thing. You might be able to talk to somebody in Denver, but my understanding now with the last continuing resolution is not only the regional money has been pretty much just drawn back to the DC level, and DC is going, you have to do what, you wanna do what, you wanna do what, and they're gonna look at it, and they're pretty much gonna decide what little money is gonna go out of the EPA for various projects for this year, so. So if you're gonna make the decisions back there, then somebody needs, in my opinion, needs to be back there to rattle the bushes, cages, whatever you wanna do, and try to get somebody's attention to try to get this finished off.
Is this a new startup or is it a finish?
It's a new start. That's what they, out of the middle blue, great big sky and everything else came out and go, new start. Excuse me?
All the work that was done before was done with different monies.
It's time critical money versus
Time critical
mitigation
money,
money.
yeah, and so, because all this stuff was done with time critical money, they consider the final little bit a new start. So it's extremely annoying, but that's why we didn't get anything done last year.
They think it's gonna be about another $1 million to finish off the town properties, and then $200,000 to 300,000 to move the repository material from out there to up there.
$1 million. Seriously?
How many properties are there?
48.
I move that we sign on to the letter that Mr. Reed put together.
Okay,
I'll second that.
okay. We had Angela and Kelly. Is there any discussion on this letter? We're in agreement?
Aye.
Aye. It carries.
So
Thank you.
just the mechanics, I'll get you a copy, Brenda, and then
Okay.
later this, when we get it signed. I mean, we'll look this over, and eyes will probably find a few things in there. Actually, I was working on that about 18 minutes ago, so. Another interest that I would like to bring up to you, and one thing that has, development that has been pretty much finalized now is that the EPA said there's gonna be no additional funding for tags, for basically any of that support type group right now. So they're not taking money back that you have, so I'm okay. The local Superior tag is dead in the water because they have more expenditures than they have funds. They will not get any more money, and so they can meet if they want to as a set of volunteers. Actually, the members weren't really getting paid, so they could continue to meet and have some information. What they won't have is that they won't have any money for a technical advisor. The practical side of it is that there's really nothing on the horizon that needs a technical advisor for. On the 18th, there's going to be a, what they call total maximum daily load meeting in the commissioner's room. That's at 3 o'clock. It's Monday afternoon. They have to go through some steps. The DEQ is obligated to develop a total maximum daily load limit for all streams in Montana. Flat Creek is going to be really those easy one because their total maximum daily load goes, oh look, Superfund, see that, and that's all they have to do really. But they got to go through the steps and have the meeting and call out some things and do that. So we're walking through those steps. But in practicality, the report for the TMDL won't set a limit, won't set this. But anyway, I think it's going to be important though at that meeting that hopefully the DEQ maybe will be involved in something after Flat Creek is remediated and what's going on with that. So anyway, I debated, but I'm still going to throw this out. If you don't know your RY number, you should. It's going to be important to you.
I do.
Huh?
I do, RY094, I think.
All right.
That's what's on the paper at home.
Huh? It's on the
Alright.
paper at home.
That's the code they gave the properties
Right,
as they
that's-
tested them?
Oh, yeah, 09094 right there. Okay, right now, that's the tie number to anybody's property in town what has had some kind of mitigation. These here are properties that actually received mitigation. There's various sets of maps, there's a number of things going on. Duke and this Nate were in town last week for 3 days. I have spent, out of my EPA assistance, over $1,000 for our GIS guy to take this information and put this in a usable format. What we have done so far is that we've taken the cadastral property list where everybody's listed as owner of a piece of property, and we've tagged that to that RY number. Okay, so we're gonna have a permanent list in Superior that says you come in and you give us an address, we're gonna be able to tell you what RY number that, we'll tell you whether it was mitigated, whether it was clean. We're gonna be able to end up tying this to reports, and we're also gonna end up tying it to the PDFs of everybody's lot that they said we tested here, 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 and here.
Wow, don't even know where they tested on the lot.
Exactly.
Wow,
I
that's
have a
very
lot of
good.
flags on mine.
Yeah, I have some of the
Why you
PDFs
just
in
never
here,
read
but,
it.
and I could show you some of those, but.
Wow,
let's
that's
play with
great.
that
I didn't
more.
realize it was gonna be that detailed.
Yeah,
That's
but
very good.
out of defense, I'm doing that myself, except EPA is sort of paying me for it. But I think this, something for the town to consider is that with your assistance grant that's sitting there, I think I would like to ask if you might consider supporting me and doing the final development of this mapping and this part of it and things, so. I don't wanna make it overly complicated, and maybe we can have some thought process of how that might be going, is that if I hire maps, you know, I'm gonna have to pay them one way or the other. I don't think I wanna take your EPA funds, commingle it with my EPA funds and do that, but I'm not so sure how we would do just a straight bill, but I think we could just do a bill from maps to the town of Superior and get them to just straight pay them for that work. And that, they would be like your technical assistants.
It would be contracted services. It would have to be probably under contracted services.
Will it fall under the scope of the grant?
That's what I was just thinking. I'd have to read through that grant
It'll
and make sure it's
definitely fall under there. 'cause
under the
they've-
scope of it.
They've already been paid under that grant right now, so.
Under the same one
Well,
that we have?
mine.
Under yours?
But yeah, whether you had that criteria in there.
Yeah, that's so, that won't take anything to get the grant out and we can look at it and,
Look at that and do that. So,
Yeah.
you know, yes, I'm gonna get billed here at the end of the month. I don't know if that's something that we could facilitate, fine. If we can't facilitate it till sometime farther out than that, it's just at least a consideration. Your money is gonna be there until September 30th, and then it goes away and.
actually, we have an extension through 2014.
Oh, cool.
Because I requested the extension.
Through federal fiscal year
I
2014.
think so. I'd have to go back and look, but I have the extension. I know we got an extension on it. So we have some little bit of time too.
Maybe that might be a good idea, just.
But it probably would be a good idea to spend some of that money because they've asked a couple times.
Well, it
about, you
would
know,
generate an
stuff.
activity report for
Yeah.
it, and then
Yeah.
a fund drawdown and stuff too.
Well,
I think
can't
this,
think about better use of that money.
Yeah.
I think this next go around, you know, it's gonna be about another $2,000.
Yeah, I just can't think about better use for that money.
What was the total grant for? 25?
25 or 35,000.
That was?
No, it was 50,000 because we got the first like 35,000 and they increased it by the 15,000 when the second round came through.
So we're looking to spend 2,000 to get the mapping?
Yeah,
Is that
and
what
we've
we're saying?
hardly
Well-
spent anything out of that grant.
They're worth their money.
The last year we didn't spend any of the money.
Oh, I thought EPA told me that you had about 5,000 left, but maybe.
EPA doesn't know what they're talking about then.
Okay, good.
Because
Now,
we
that's-
haven't
Les-
paid
Les-
anybody
Les
hardly
would
anything.
know, Christine wouldn't, so that's it.
Yeah.
She did the work, so.
Yeah, because I know that there's quite a bit.
I'm gonna say, wait a minute, if they don't know, can we transfer that to parks?
No, no.
We don't wanna be in jail.
I didn't mean to say we, I meant to say you. Can you transfer it?
So is that right, about $2,000 out of the grant will finish up the mapping?
It's gonna pay for the next, this last amount of work with Darlene coming over from Helena. He's still gonna do some, he's gotta do some comparisons and some checks, and then he's gotta interact with the URS out of Denver and stuff. So I anticipate from what he did for the first time that he billed me a little over $1,000 that, you know, I would just estimate now that it'd be about another 2,000.
So do we need a motion?
Of course, that motion needs to be contingent on.
Contingent.
That it'll
The
meet
scope
the
of the
scope
grant.
of the grant.
I make a motion that we help fund the mapping Mr. Reed's doing for the EPA cleanup. As long as it meets the scope of the-
Does everyone understand the motion?
Yeah.
Okay, any questions?
Aye.
Aye. Passed, okay. Tim, what else you got for us?
That'll be it for right now. We're doing the other. Oh, you mean, you were moving to floodplain?
We are ready for floodplain now.
Okay. History lesson, when was the big flood on the north side of town? What year?
48.
48.
Oh, cheater. You saw the pictures and stuff, so. I had Case Rumble give me the pictures of that. Gonna do a presentation at the floodplain conference in the last week of March, and amazing number of good photos that were collected up by the historical group over there and stuff, so it's gonna be really interesting to watch. I am convinced after we spent a few time on the pictures today that in 48, the big tube in the ground was not there. That the water from Flat Creek came surface down through there, down through the buildings, and maybe went through a couple small culverts, but didn't go through the big culvert. Because I think,
Because that's the story I was told. It may have been a different culvert, you know, I was thinking of the one up by Schneider's old house, but it may have been down lower.
well, I
I
didn't.
thought that's what caused it, plugged
I didn't.
up, where it was plugged up there and it.
They took
washed
the
over.
grate off because it was plugging up and then a big stump went down in there, that's the story I
Well,
heard.
that was a later event, was my understanding of it, but I
Oh.
don't know. If you have some time, could you stop by my office tomorrow?
Sure.
I'd like you to look at these pictures and
Yeah.
see. Because the end of the Superior Drug and thing, there's a chasm down there that's 9 feet deep. And it's like, if there was a culvert, if there was a big cement tube down there, it's like, yeah.
There's something cement right in the middle of the intersection on the corner. Because when we ran our main through there, to our line, we ran into it and they crawled down into there because it was still open and it's,
I thought Dennis went down through it once.
no, he walked the culvert. But this is cement, a thing like maybe it was the old bridge that went across the creek way back when, because it's still there. We ran into that in our project.
Okay, but the railroad trestle is there. The railroad, did somebody put something under the trestle before they built the dirt up 30 feet?
I don't know.
See, that's not making sense, and it looks like the stream was right down on the edge between the road and the trestle.
Interesting. Huh.
He's right, he must have been about 30 years old.
Yeah, to remember all that?
Well, if I gotta pull out the stops, Don Parkin is the one that knows because his dad was the road foreman.
He would.
Yeah.
He would have, and in fact, he was a 14-year-old and he showed me his pictures. He's up on the trestle here and taking that stuff, but absolutely cool pictures. The old Shret Motel, there's a 6-inch pipe that's hooked to something that's in the building under there, and it's shooting water 15 feet full bore out of the base of the share. Somebody had a open pump that was really going out of there and stuff like that. And the old, did the red and white go away and then Napa went up?
Yeah.
Okay, because Napa
No,
didn't
that's
get
same
built.
No,
It's the same building,
No,
yeah.
they didn't razz the building, no.
No.
Okay, well, I can make a really good case for mitigation for the Napa building, because the water was flowing that high up the wall all the way around the Napa building and stuff, so. It's really interesting to take a look at, and
Yeah, it will be.
I'll have that, when I put that together, then I'll maybe take a few moments and I'll
That
just go over
was
it.
a Horde store here many years ago.
And I need to talk to somebody, because it looks like the water was coming down on the back of the building and went clear up around the block and clear around the front of the buildings that were there. Because there was no bank and nothing else at that corner over there, so it was not only going down between the buildings, it
There
looked
was
like.
the old,
It had
the
to be some,
Redmond's Hall, cause there used to be
Redmond
dance,
Hall.
Redmond Hall, there used to be dances there when I was a
that was,
teenager.
yeah, way up.
That's where the parking
Yeah.
lot is for the bank now.
The bank now,
Yeah.
yeah.
That
And
was-
where the
Castles
bank
was
was,
there.
Yeah,
Castles
but
Market
Castles and
was,
Redmond.
What elevation?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
up higher.
yeah, quite a bit higher.
Now, it wasn't high then.
Well, it's a lot higher than where that water was running. It wasn't
Yeah.
running through that parking lot, was it, or through that Redmond Hall?
Well, it looks like water's coming down, going back down the road in front of the, whatever the
Oh.
buildings are and so.
Because
I mean, that's what it
Castles
looks like.
Market is where the bank was,
Yeah.
And
Gotcha.
Redmond's just east, west of that.
yeah.
So, I mean, it appears that water was even coming around and
Wow.
going that way.
Do you have a picture of Rocky fishing out there too?
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, Rocky Jensen
Yeah.
was fishing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put a pool together on that, because oh no, that was, no,
No, that was Rocky.
if anybody knows, they say
Yeah.
Rocky, I think, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the best picture of Rocky fishing out there is Don Parkins, and I don't have that one. He has the best picture. You know. He was 14 years old and had an old box camera and just went around and took all those pictures and stuff. But the patrol stuck, the cat stuck. Pull out the patrol, pull out the cat, pull out the thing, pull the car out. There's cars sitting in the middle of the thing. Somebody down in the middle of the bridge with water up around everything else, and he's got this shovel. And it's like, I don't know what that program was, but whatever. It's interesting
Yeah,
stuff.
I'd like to see those pictures.
So, but I'm gonna, I scanned about 20 of them, but we'll probably go ahead and scan quite a few more, just to make put them on a thumb drive and let somebody go plug them in the computer if they wanna go look at them and stuff. They're worth looking at and stuff.
Yeah. I can't remember who told me the story, because we were gonna pull the grate, because that one year we kept so many sticks and stuff. So I thought, well, instead of fighting this all the time, let's just pull the grate and let it all just wash through, because it's not that big. And somebody came up and said, no, 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 no. That's what they did before in 1948, and they plugged the thing, and it all went up and went down by all that, so flooded the bar and everything. Okay, never mind. We spent all night for 2 days, shifts pulling that stuff out.
Well, in 48, if the culvert was there, then you really did have a 100-year flood event.
Yeah.
Because even if it was the 48-inch,
Wouldn't the state know, because it's all their road?
I didn't have time to check. I got the plans for the 48, or for the concrete tube being installed, and I think it says 1952. But I didn't check that before I came over here.
That would sure have been an incentive to put it in, wouldn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And it goes under the old post office corner right there, and I mean, like I said, it's 8 feet down, there's no building there, but it's also 8 feet down, and there's no concrete culvert there. And it goes right beside the old drugstore, sporting goods store
Yeah.
building right there and stuff, so,
Is that culvert all concrete over there?
yes.
No.
He-
Up to the
walked it.
up to the intersection.
Intersection,
And
yeah.
It was concrete going from the intersection up to the grate.
Where you
Tony
crawled
went
out.
Well, I crawled out and Tony went ahead.
Yeah,
Uh,
so the last block is,
But I would have had to crawl on my knees, and I was, you know, it's flushing water, and it would have bounced me out because I have so much lard, you know, it just floats. But I come up through the intersection there, on the manhole there. I almost couldn't get out of there.
I can picture that.
that's because we were pushing him back there.
Somebody had borrowed my ladder, and I had to go down that up where that was at, and finally we got a ladder down into it. That was small enough, they gave me enough room to get up through the manhole with the ladder.
Younger Dennis. Oh, did you recall when I sent you the contract, signed contract?
It was last month. I'm pretty sure. It was in February. Don't think it was in March. Because I think in the last minutes.
Okay, so whenever I sent you that,
Yeah, I reported to him that you'd signed off on the Atkins document.
Okay. Okay. So I waited about a week, then we conversed at an email or something, and he said, in the next 2 weeks, I'll be submitting the Lomar to the feds. I'll do that. So, I mean, I don't, that would have been, this last week or something like that, maybe before that. So anyway, we're expecting that the Lomar is gonna go into the feds. And get that taken care of and stuff, so I don't, not really know when Atkins will ever bill and stuff, but depending on how the bill is, then just pass that on to Billy Lee up there and see what we have to take care of. So I think that's, other than the floodplain conference, and that's it. On flood state.
Okay. Are you done, Tim?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Town office project.
I have some good news. I'll give you the really good news first. Intercap interest for at least for the next year is 1%.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And our loan is approved. I've got it.
What's the amount of the loan?
105,000 at this point, and then it can be lowered. It's gonna depend. They started the bid advertisement on the 10th in the Daily Interlake and the Missoulian, and it'll be again on the 17th. Bids are due on April 4th, and the opening will be at the fire hall.
Okay.
That's what it says in the bid
Okay.
document. I read that part.
Okay.
And so, once we get
We can
those
do
in,
that.
and, we know what the project's gonna cost and that, then we can ask for the closing documents, and Julie Flynn from Intercap said it would give her about 4 weeks, because it would 3 weeks to do the thing. So today I emailed Tom the term papers and the title, insurance and warranty deed and that, so he can do his opinion when we need it on it, so he's not surprised when we need that opinion for the.
When did you say the bid closes?
April 4th.
And when are they due?